Hello and welcome to another episode of Rites and Rituals.
Gaun, Yersoul.
Yersoul. Oh, I'm not even rewinding and starting again. I'm Lindsay Irvin.
I'm Victoria Burnham.
And we are absolutely delighted to be here to chatting to you, to be chatting to you about all things ceremony, ritual,
life. How that gets in the way.
Yes, indeed it does. And thank you so much if you are watching or if you're listening. It's really nice to have you here. And we are really humbled and, just so delighted when people reach out and say that they've watched the podcast and they've enjoyed it. And it's just...
Yeah, it means so much to us.
It does mean so much
to us. And the community.
It does. And today we are talking about... ceremonies beyond weddings and funerals. Mm-hmm. Because whenever anybody, you say you're a celebrant to anybody, that's what they think about, weddings.
That's all they think about.
And funerals. And yet they are not the only ceremonies that you can have, because there are so many moments in life's journey that call for us to stop and to pay attention and to be witnessed. And And cultures across for thousands of years, cultures across the planet have had rituals to mark these different events that can take place in the life's journey, right? From birth, puberty, coming of age, we've said marriage, but grief, beginnings and endings and...
just transitional
moments
that I think in our Western culture we whiz through.
And
we might not even realise that there is space for a moment to stop and to celebrate or to honour or to acknowledge those moments in time.
And I think that is absolutely true. In this Western world of ours, we have completely lost sight of those rituals and marking those moments. And we do just think about ceremonies as funerals and weddings, occasional baby naming. And as we were saying just beforehand, I think a large part of it is because we are steamrolling through life. We are running through life at 1,000,000 miles an hour, trying to get to the next place, tick off the next thing in the list, and as we're not just ceremonialists, we're mums and we're grandparents and we're sisters and we're friends, and so people are trying to juggle
so
much that they don't, it's not even that they don't have time to acknowledge all these moments, they're just not even on their horizon.
And I think that I know that you guys have been watching this at all different times of the year, but where we are actually now, we're in where are we? We're still
November,
end of November. And this is supposedly the time everything goes to earth. Nature is telling us to rest, to come, be quiet, be still. But for some reason, we actually start to speed up at this time of year. And I think that's where we get pulled into all, like you said earlier, 1,000,000 different directions. Because in our deepest soul, it's saying, be still. But everyday life is just driving us forward, keep going. So,
and that's so stressful.
It's so stressful.
It's so stressful. Living a spiritual life doesn't mean to say that you're not going to be...
That we all go around going...
floating through life like kumbaya. It's just not. But even those ceremonies that we maybe do pay attention, or to those moments that we do pay attention to, take birthdays, for example... I find what tends to happen is, 6 months before a loved one's birthday, you're all like, oh, you've got all these grand ideas. Oh, I'm going to bake a cake the day before and I'm going to invite people. I'm going to make a beautiful table.
And we're going to... arches.
Yes, and we're going to sit there and we're going to have this really relaxed dinner around the table. In reality, what happens is the night before you're running out to M&S for a call on the caterpillar cake.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? And stopping into Tesco to get some candles because they're cheaper in there.
Prime delivery next day.
Yeah, because...
Other delivery companies are available.
Because we rush through those moments. We rush through, even though they are calling for us to say, whatever's happening in my life is so important that it needs its own moment. It needs me to pause and to mark it and to honour it and for it to be witnessed. It's so important. And we just don't
do it.
We just don't do it. But ceremony provides an opportunity to be able to do that. Any ceremony, it doesn't matter what it's for, provides that opportunity. And I say opportunity, I'll come back to that in a minute, for us to say, right, this is so important. You know, it's my wee 5-year-old grandson on your son's birthday. This gives us the opportunity to stop and to look at him as he is and say, this is such an important threshold moment for him because he's becoming 5. And in a year's time, he's going to be a completely different wee boy. And so it's really important for us as a family, as a community, to see him as he is and to honour him as he is and to mark this beautiful rite of passage as he is getting older. You know, not just to get some party bags and, as I say, a call on the caterpillar cake and, you know, and a quick hour and a half and a bouncy castle and then it's gone. They are real opportunities for us to slow down and take time. But I say opportunities because, as we know, just having a ceremony doesn't guarantee that it will be the pause, the spiritual pause that you need.
So what do you, because birthdays, for example, we kind of get into a kind of formula, especially when the wee ones are growing up. You know, you send your invites out and you as you say, if you're having it at the house, the only moment of real ceremony is perhaps the cake moment. That's the only thing that's kind of left for, and even then that can be quite a rushed moment and overexcited, but there is no time for an amount of birthday parties when my wee boys were small and you suddenly go, oh, we've not done the cake. We've not even done the cake. And so what do you suggest that we could bring in that's simple, but does gives us that moment to pause and to reflect? I know with wee ones, big ones, you know, I know you've got a big one coming up.
Well, I have, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, because I should have said that the 4 ceremonies, but we'll talk about birthdays. The 4 ceremonies we're going to talk about were new life ceremonies, vow renewal ceremonies, healing ceremonies, and croning ceremonies. So that's the kind of 4 we're going to go on and talk about. But birthdays, there are so many different ways that you can mark a birthday. So say, let's go back to the wee 5-year-olds. And as well as, I'm not saying you shouldn't have birthday cakes and bouncy castles and everything, but at least the immediate family, you could say, okay, we ask everybody to bring a small item to go in a time capsule box.
Oh, lovely.
Or a small note, or both. You know, a small item with a wee letter, and write it to this wee 5-year-old. And it's going to go in a time capsule box, going to go put away, and when he's 16 and when he's 21, whenever you want to do it, you're going to bring that out and you're going to say, and it could be that every year you add to that. So for your 6th, this was, and for your 7th, and for your 8th, and for your 8th, some of the people or one of the people that were at your 5th's not here anymore. So you see that beautiful circle of life coming in, and by the time they open the box, they've got all these beautiful wee objects and these wee letters from people. So that's just a really simple way. Or if you don't even want to do that, you could just ask the people in the family to get round a table and to say a few words to that wee one about how blessed they are, how grateful they are, and to how they see that wee one growing and given to the world. There are so many wee things that you can do as long as they're done with intention, because what you're saying about the birthday cake is we often do it, but we don't do it with intention. Yeah. You're right. We go, oh, this is great. Oh, shit, the birthday cake. And you bring it out and the kids are all having meltdowns because they're so full of E-numbers, and you're just trying to get it over and done with, and as soon as you light the first candle, they're blowing it out.
Chaos.
So we've all been there. But if you can choose to do one or plan to do one thing that you do with intention. And if you don't even want to involve anybody else, it could just be your immediate. So you, your partner, and the wee one doing something to just mark that between you.
And it makes it's not just that moment, it makes a moment of memory that you'll remember, because you know when your kids grow up, one birthday a year just goes, you can't, but you think, well, that's the year when we did that moment, or we wrote those letters, or we said those words, or we videoed him speak, say something about mummy and daddy or whatever.
Yeah.
That's marking those threshold years, because the years just, running, and before you know it, you've got an 18-year-old,
And that's what's important, because if they get used to that, if they get used to, kids are used to parties that we've just described, but if you got them used to, as well as having that beautiful party, there is going to be a point where we are going to sit down as a family, or we're going to sit, like my wee grandsons, I put on these wee ceremonies, and so I put things in a circle. So when it became 5, I put 5 things in a circle, and there was a word with each one that we come up with, me and my daughter and my son-in-law, and it was things like brave. And so he was in the circle, and we would get the word, and we would say, we think you are very brave, and this is why. And so we are just affirming him as this beautiful wee person in the world, and each one had a wee gift with it. It was a wee silly thing. But if we got kids used to doing that, by the time they come to 16, 17 and 18, when they're in those maybe angsty years, they are maybe more used to and prepared and looking forward to hearing those very affirming words about what how we now see them as a teenager, as an adolescent, and what we're hoping for the next stage in their life.
Because it's very easy to buy the Hallmark card that says, we're so proud of you, you've done great this year.
Yeah.
And just to take maybe a moment to we're not saying you have to write a whole A4 page or put yourself under pressure, but it's exactly as you say, something that maybe you have written, or a family member has written, or just a few lines, that an affirmation for them to hold, and also that creates a tradition and a cycle, hopefully, as they move forward in life, and that will be repeated with their own children, their own families, and
But it's not just like birthdays, you see that, because we see it with weddings. We see it with weddings where a couple who are planning their wedding, again, they're going through life at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Now they're going through life at 1,020 miles an hour because they're planning all their wedding and everything that comes with that. But there has to come a point, as we're always harping on about, where you put the brakes on before the ceremony, and ideally way before the ceremony, and you say, okay, now I bring the intention to what this is all about. Now I begin to step into ceremony. And so you're letting go of all that noise, you're letting go of all that organising, you're letting go of all the planning, and you're saying to each other, let's sit down with a bottle of wine and let's talk about the journey we've had, the journey, the adventure that's about to come, why we are stepping into marriage or vow renewal or commitment ceremony or whatever it might be, why we're doing that, what we hope it's going to shift, what we hope from our day. So really bringing themselves into the moment, we know that's quite a rarity for couples to do that. Because the truth is, not only are they running 1,000,000 miles through life, they run 1,000,000 miles through their ceremony.
Yeah.
And we see it. We get to the other side, we do a ceremony, we come out and go, that was a shame. And I know we both say that. Yeah, that was a shame. That felt very superficial or performative, or because they just, and that's not a dig at couples. It's the way that we don't approach ceremony.
And it's that when you sit down with a couple, and the first thing, a lot of the time, the first thing that they'll say is, oh, we just want something very straightforward and simple because we just want to get, short and sweet. That's it, just because we want to get to the party or whatever. And when you actually send them away to do a wee bit of research, have a look at whatever's on our websites or YouTube channels or whatever, or even the podcasts, it gives them a little bit more of a, they'll come back and go, oh, actually, we really want that lovely oathing stone, for example. And they giving them space to see that it's okay, because everybody wants, it's all about cash, isn't it? Money up front. This is going to be your bar. This is going to be your caterer or whatever. Your magician or whatever you need. So they think that they're going to get the same from us. You know, here, give your deposit. See, we'll see you on the day.
Yes. And there's your ceremony. And okay, that's quite funny.
And you're like,
no.
Because we had that the other day, didn't I? I spoke to you guys about, I had a lovely couple, and the first thing we always like to do is have a chat to see if we're a right fit for them, and if, and vice versa a wee bit as well. Mm-hmm. And it was all on sort of just text, because somebody had passed my number on, and she was like, I said, let's have a little just a quick FaceTime chat, see how you feel. Yes, we're free in January. And you go, because that's not I don't have time for you. That's, I don't understand how this process works. So once you explain that, then they're like, oh my goodness, yes, of course, we'll have a chat tomorrow and see if it's right. And then they go away and they have a look at the website properly and come back and they go, yeah, we really love your work and we really want to do this, that and the other. So giving them that space, because everybody is moving too fast. So that space for ceremony to explain how important and how beautiful and how funny and engaging, but that threshold moment between them, how special and magical that can be.
But look what we've done. We are now talking about weddings.
Reel it back in. It's not about the weddings.
But we are so used to weddings and funerals that when we're talking, we kind of bring it back to that. And yet there are all these wonderful, beautiful, and I got asked to do a baby naming yesterday, which was so lovely. I put it on the group. I can't do it because I'm away in Florida, but it was a couple I did. I married them a few years ago and they came yesterday and said, we've had a beautiful wee baby boy and can you do our naming? So that brings us on to talking about new life ceremonies, because I think there is a spiritual need for new life ceremonies. I think there's spiritual need for all the different types of ceremonies. But so we're going to talk briefly about why we need new life ceremonies, about what a ceremony might look like if you decide to ask a ceremonialist, like one of us, to do it. What might that look like? And what could you do if you wanted to mark the occasion without hiring a hall and having a ceremonialist? Well, so let's talk about new life ceremonies, first of all. Oh my God. How amazing is it when a new life comes into the world? And how much do we take that for granted? When you think about the miracle of childbirth, it really highlights how amazing and sacred women are in terms of bringing life into the world. Obviously, men.
They've got a wee bit to do with it.
Obviously, they play a huge part in it. And I don't think there's a time when the masculine and feminine are more in balance than when they create life. But this miracle of a woman carrying new life inside her and it growing and it developing and then her being able to birth it out into the world. Let's face it, we've both done it. Not the easiest process.
It's not fun.
I'd like to say it's a sacred experience.
Do you know, that's what always makes me laugh, because you obviously on all these TikTok and all that kind of thing, and all the young mums now, they're all made up and their hair's done, their nails are done, and they're all made up and they hold this baby. I'm like, you really didn't want to see me afterwards.
First, it's like shitting a melon.
I'm
hell. Just going to say it. And then there's things ripped to bits that are never going to be the same again.
No, you don't want to see that again.
And the only saving grace afterwards, you get a wee bit of toast and a cup of tea.
Yeah.
I remember that now. I mean, it was 36 years ago. But this miracle of childbirth. I mean, we're jesting a wee bit, but bringing new life into the world. It is so precious. It's so sacred. And in my head, when a baby is born and it takes that first breath, because the first breath is so important, isn't it? Do you remember when we were growing up and you would see the things on the telly, they would hold the baby upside down, smack it in the arse to make it cry, because they know if it cries, it's going to take a breath. No, so you don't see that so much now. But that first breath is so important. And in my head, when a baby is born into the world and it takes that first breath, she is breathing in the whole of humanity. And then when they breathe out, they are taking their place in the whole of humanity. So when a baby is born into the world and takes that first breath, and you could actually take it back to conception, the world is forever changed by it. The world is forever changed by this new life. And not only that, but parents' lives have changed. You know, if it's your first baby, my goodness, what a change that is in your life. But siblings, their lives change. Grandparents, their lives change. Your wider family, your community, and as I say, the wider world. That is such an important moment that it calls for us to stop and to mark it in some way, and yet very rarely does it happen, because it used to be you get christened or you get baptised, right?
Yeah,
that was the way of marking it.
Yeah.
But people didn't think of it in terms of, oh, we're marking this. It was just the thing you did. You know, both my children were christened. I was never stepped foot in the church other than the day I got married. But I remember my mother-in-law saying, no, you have to do it, and I got this wee beautiful white gown, and it looked very lovely, and you had a party. It was nothing to do with the meaning behind it, or there was no intention brought to it that I can remember. You were just going through.
It was just it was what you do. It was a box tick.
What you do. But couples don't do that anymore. So many people are, disconnected from the church and disconnected from these traditions that they have in the churches and these rites of passage. But I mean, it's not like, if you think about going back to weddings, it used to be you get married in the church or you get married in a registry office. Then humanism came along and offered this alternative, and people just jumped at it. There was, oh my goodness, we've got this beautiful alternative that we don't have to have religion and piety, but that hasn't happened with baby namings and baby blessings and baby welcomes. By and large, people don't have anything. And that is such a missed opportunity, I think, for us as a society to acknowledge and mark the importance of new life coming into the world.
And I think that feeling that there's lots of other stuff coming in that could be made very sort of more spiritual, more sacred, like the very fashionable what do you call it before you have a baby showers, things like
blessing ways,
and those things can be not just about sitting around and comedy straws and lots of presents. That's celebrating something wonderful is going to happen. I mean, I very rarely get asked to do a baby naming ceremony, even with well, not friends anymore, but friends' kids now having babies, and you sort of say to them, have you thought about a wee ceremony or something? And because we're still conditioned to that, no, it's not. I'm not having them christened.
Yeah,
and it's not that. It's about announcing into the universe.
Look, it's like Simba.
I know. Ooh. I know exactly. That's what I would do.
That's what it's doing. It's
name,
so important.
Wonderful.
And so the different ways, what are the different ways that you can mark it? Well, the most common, it's no common, but the most common is a baby naming, which is a beautiful ceremony. Yeah. And that naming gives the ceremony structure. And so that is where the parents would announce to the world, into the ether, into God, into the sacred, into the universe, into the force, whatever language you want to use, the given name of the baby. And so what might that look like if you were having an actual ceremony? So you've hired a venue, you've got one of us, you've said, we would like to have a baby naming ceremony. Well, we would come and sit down with you and with the family, and we would talk about why are you choosing to have a ceremony? What's important to that in you? What would you like to get from it? And we would talk about the baby and the name that you've chosen for the baby, and is there a history, what the origins of that name, because that can be very important. We'd talk about who might be involved in the ceremony. They're just going to be the parents. You want the grandparents and the wider family? Are you having guide parents or godparents? As part of that, we'd talk about poetry and readings and rituals. And so we would talk around all these different things that you can have in ceremony that would support your intention for having the ceremony in the first place. And then we would put together a ceremony. So that ceremony might have something like opening words of welcome. It might have some poetry or readings, either by us or by one of your guests. At some point, and would probably talk about the importance of marking new arrivals in the world, just all the things that we just spoke about. At some point, the parents would be asked to stand up with the wee one and to step forward. So this is the moment we're coming towards what we call the threshold moment of the ceremony, the whole point that we're having it. And the parents would be asked what name they're giving to the child, and they would say out loud, of course, the name. If they're comfortable, they might explain a wee bit about why they've chosen that name. If there are any godparents or guide parents, whatever you want to call them, they might come forward. The parents would often be asked to make some promises to the wee one in front of everybody. The godparents would be asked to make some promises. It might be the grandparents are asked to make some promises. And there may be a ritual involved, and that would be usually very personal to the wee one. I remember doing a baby naming for a wee boy, and his name was Struan, which is a Scottish name, and it means stream. And so the parents collected a wee bottle of water from a stream close by, and we had it, in a wee beautiful wee bowl on a stand, and we blessed the wee one on the foot with the water. And then at the end, everybody come up and they just touched the water, or everybody who wanted to come up and touched, his wee foot with the water. So that was like a community blessing. And then there might be another wee bit of poetry, and then you're kind of closing with a blessing of what we hope for that wee one as they move through life, and then we're bringing the ceremony to a close. So that's what a baby naming ceremony might look like. If it's not a naming ceremony, it might be a baby blessing. Very similar. Just instead of having the name, there would be a blessing in there, or a baby welcome. Very similar again, except for when it comes to the threshold moment, instead of the naming, you would, be saying how the family, the wider family, the community welcome this wee one. So that's a kind of more formal type ceremony. But you don't have to do that. You can, as we said at the beginning when we were talking about birthdays, get the family around a table, set your intention. On Sunday, we are going to have a meal, and that's going to mark, this wee one. And that might be months afterwards, because it can take a mum months
to get into to feel like
to
she
get
can.
to the point where she actually wants to sit and have dinner around a table, or she can. My youngest grandson is 6 months old. He is exclusively breastfed, and he still feeds every 2.5 hours. My daughter's like a walking zombie. She's not at the point where she's like, yes, let's put on a meal for everybody, sit round and, enjoy some wine. So it might be months and months later, or as some couples do, like that couple that came to me yesterday, it's going to be the wee one's first birthday at the same day of the naming.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be. It's not like, I think that sort of tradition, some religions where it's, if they're not baptised or immediately, then they shall be cast. Something happened, they shall, what would happen. It's not that. It's about, it is a celebration, and it should be felt that way. But it's interesting, just listening to you talking there, and I know we always go about weddings and funerals. Listening to you talk there, it just sort of was landing with me how important a baby naming or blessing community is very prominent, I think, more so than other ceremonies that we hold for welcoming new life or honouring that life or naming them. Because it, as you say, it doesn't have to be, you know, a big venue with loads of, you know, your 200 guests or whatever. It's those small, still moments where the community, your immediate family, the promises that you make to that little soul, I think the more family and friends involved make a ceremony like that really, really special.
Yeah.
Not to put pressure on folk, because a lot of people don't like speaking in public and things like that. And if you want to go big, then that's what we do. We do that for you. But bringing the parents in to make those promises, the grandparents, I feel that just listening to you there, it feels like community and and your family is very, very central for bringing. And obviously we're talking about new life, all new life, but this obviously is the same if like an adoption or something like that, or even fostering. So you can have those ceremonies at 2, 3, 4 years old, or however old that beautiful child comes into your life.
Sitting looking at your 45-year-old going, do you know what? We never had a ceremony to mark your occasion. Sunday, be there or be square.
I got christened.
I love it.
I got christened at 32.
Oh, did you?
Uh-huh. Well, because I wanted to get married in the church.
Right. I've never been christened.
I know. Well, see, I was baby number 3, so my parents never got round to me.
I think I was the same. I think my
it wasn't a conscious choice. It was just they never get round to it. But yeah, it felt important for me at that time. It felt hypocritical for me to get married in a church without being christened within the church. And that's a different conversation, but that was me beginning on my spiritual journey. But I didn't want to feel like a hypocrite, you know. But yeah, the community coming together.
Hugely important.
In all ceremony, but I think for wee ones especially.
Yes, and I think oftentimes the baby naming ceremonies I've done, people come to it just thinking it's a day out.
Yeah, exactly. It's
a party.
Another party, great. Get a nice frock and
And then all of a sudden you stand up and you go well, wait a minute, it's not just a party. Let's think about what's happened in the world. And you can kind of see the shift happening. Not with everybody, but it's the same with funerals, it's the same with weddings, it's the same. When you start to bring the kind of spiritual element into it, you talk about the spiritual need for these kind of ceremonies and what we're actually here for, you can kind of see it dawning on people like, all right, this is not just a part. Oh, I hadn't actually thought about that. And they start to think about their own children and their own grandchildren and the miracle of that they're in the world and their journey is through the world. And that's what we're trying to do through rites and rituals, right? We're not trying to preach to people. We're not trying to say you should do this or you should do that. We're just saying here's a different way to think about these milestones. Here's a different way to approach them. Here's a different a way of kind of deepening your connection to it. But I think you're absolutely right. New life ceremonies, community is hugely important because it takes a village to raise a child. And I think we've lost sense of that as well. I definitely think we've lost sense of that. Anybody who's had a child knows how tough it is.
How isolating it can be.
I was a single parent with 2 kids.
Me too.
and it's very, very difficult. But some of the communities that we work in and that we go to do funeral ceremonies, etc., you see how a community really comes together for each other in ways, bringing food.
Yeah.
What can I do for you? Or do you want me to come in and, clean up your kitchen? And they just come and do stuff without being asked. But I'm no asking you. My daughter was talking yesterday, we were talking about this, about how when she had my second grandson, and she's saying, I remember and I was just really struggling and blah, blah, blah. And she said, you and James, that's her husband, came in one day and James said, I'm taking Lockie. And Mum said, and I'm taking Finlay, and you're not getting the option. And she said, I remember I sat on the couch for the whole day. I didn't put the TV on. I don't even think I ate anything. I just sat there, just in the stillness. And she said, it just did such a huge amount for me. That's just her wee immediate family. Community is, community is such a big thing to us anyway, right? But definitely in these new life ceremonies. So that's new life ceremonies. That's the importance of marking wee ones coming into the world. And I cannot stress how important that is. So if you've got a wee one in your family or a wee one due, or we're not saying pick up the phone and book us, absolutely not, but maybe just think about ways, even from the simplest ways, that you can mark this new life coming into the world. Because I think the more we can do that within our families, within our communities, within the wider world, the better that's going to be for humanity.
And if you think about
very deep there,
I know. Very deep. I think with all these wonderful ceremonies that we hold, each ceremony, if you think about it, we are speaking out. To me, in my head, if we're doing a marriage ceremony or a funerals especially, sometimes there's only one person maybe attending the funeral, or and they're like, oh well, nobody, I know the story or whatever. It's about saying that name out into the ether, out into the universe, and it kind of resonates. In marriage ceremonies, you're saying the couple's name over and over again as well. That's going out, and depending on your beliefs, if you believe like me, you've got all your ancestors standing there hearing that. So to announce their name out into the universe for everybody to hear from through the veil from on, and it will resonate. It's like dropping a little pebble, and those circles will resonate throughout their life until they reach the end of their life, where their name once again is repeated.
Well, your name is so important. I mean, you carry it through life, and it's with you in so many different ways. But when you mention it in ceremony, it puts that person front and centre. That's why when you see ceremonies and they don't even mention the name. And then I've gone to church ceremonies, they've never even mentioned the person's name. And I get that because it's not about the person, it's about God. So they'll talk about God, and they'll bring God into it's an invocation to bring God into the space, but know that person. Whereas we don't work from that perspective. We work from the perspective that it's that person that should be front and centre. And that's why in the first few lines of any of our ceremonies, we will say that name, and we will say it I put it in bold. When I'm sending the draft to people, it's in bold because that name is so, so important to the family and to the people that love them. But the other thing I should have said about New Life ceremonies is they don't have to be all serious.
No, gosh, no.
They can be. You can do fun things. I think it's in China or Japan or something. And what they do is they put the baby on the floor. It happens on their first birthday. They put them on the floor and they put all these objects in front of them. So it'll be a note, a pound note, a stethoscope, a kind of law book, and each one represents a career. And whatever one they go to, that's saying that's what that wee one's going to be as they get older. So all the family are trying to get them to go for like the stethoscope or the money, or probably pictures of YouTube now because like they're influencer. But it's all come on, and whatever one they choose, it's a big ROE or not. But so it doesn't have to be like any ceremony. It doesn't have to be fully serious. It should have depth. It should have meaning, but it can also have fun. Right, let's talk about vow renewal ceremonies. Because I don't know about you, but I find that lots of people, when they hear vow renewal ceremony, they go, why would you do that? You've already had a wedding. What is the point of that? Or they think, somebody's been naughty.
Oh, yeah, that's what
this has been naughty, and this is a way of, trying to apologise, get a big ceremony and a new ring.
Yeah, my ex tried that one.
Oh,
yeah. Fast forward 10 months and never saw him again.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we'll come back to this point this time next year, and we'll take it. This is before I was a celebrant.
Oh my goodness.
We renew our vows, and I'm like, That's amazing. Blindsided. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I didn't actually click until you just said that. That's why I was back on that beach.
You're
in a
back
second.
on that. But, and it's true. It does happen. I've had it.
Let's forget all of that.
There's been a wee, something in
that
there.
is a nice thing to do if it's done with the right intention.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. If they've worked through that
Yeah.
and they've been like, right, absolutely, because it's that kind of demarcation line. It's stepping away from the old and stepping into the new, right? That chapter's finished. Maybe that book's finished. Let's step into a new chapter. But that's not the only reason for it. So some of the reasons, you could say some of the reasons that you've had, some of the reasons I've had are that, and this is quite a common one, when couples look back at their wedding day, they can't remember it. They can't remember the vows they made to each other. It's usually been in the church, and they weren't given any opportunity to personalise it in any way. So they look back and they think, we have no idea what vows we actually made to each other. Sometimes it's about somebody's been ill.
Yeah, a lot of them is because they've come through some trauma
and they feel really grateful and lucky, and this is a way of reaffirming their loving commitment to each other. What have you had any other?
Sometimes it's because they never had the means to have a lovely big ceremony, so they just went to the registry office and signed a bit of paper. There may have been, I'm thinking of older couples back then. If you get pregnant, you're like, oh, quick, let's go to the registry office. So they never had that lovely sort of ceremonial feel, or even the fun of getting dressed up and being all part of the whole thing. And now their kids have grown up, and it's so yeah, a lot of time it's because they may not have had the means, and they've always wanted to.
Yeah. Absolutely. Another reason is just because they're so absolutely bloody besotted about each other that they want to go out, as you say. They've got family, grown up, and they want to do something in front of everybody. I love vow renewal ceremonies. I love them because couples, I find, often do come to them with intention, and they are very prepared to step into ceremony, and they do recognise the magic. It's not about the fluff.
Yeah,
it's not about the fluff, it's about that.
The depth that you get in a vow renewal is never underestimated. Yeah, of course, a lot of vow renewals are very intimate, are like almost just two people.
Yes. So a wee like an elopement type thing. But I've had both. I've had the ones that are just the two people. You get a lot of them. I got a lot of them from overseas. People coming here and they want to renew their vows in Scotland, which is really lovely. And then I've had the full-on big parties where everybody's dressed up, and it's really, really wonderful. And there's something really nice about being able to say 30 years ago you stood in front of each other with your bell bottoms and your your mullets or whatever it was, and you said vows that you can't even remember, and here you are 30, 35 years later, still choosing each other every single day. There's something so beautiful about that and so meaningful and so deep. I absolutely love them.
Do you find, I've found that with the vow renewals, I haven't done too many, but it tends to be the men who want the vow renewal.
A lot of times.
More than they'll be like, oh, it was his idea. I know we do that with the wedding, he should propose, whatever. But I do find that they are more invested at the beginning. And she's a bit like, oh, well, you wanted to do it. So, and then by the time you've worked through it, she's totally invested too. Yes,
I get a lot of surprise vow renewals.
And I've that land.
Well, I kind of changed how I've done them over the years. Most of them have been absolutely great and grand, but now, and it's usually always 99% of the time, it's driven by the man, driven by the husband. And often from overseas, we're coming to Scotland, we're doing this tour, I would like to do a vow renewal ceremony for my wife. And I used to go, great, grand, let's do it. And then there was one that I felt just did not land.
She was blindsided.
Yeah. I think she would have liked to have the opportunity to walk towards it and to be able to choose a beautiful dress and get her hair done and get her shoes and decide who was going to be there and
think of words and to say
and she didn't get any of that, and I almost I had to say beforehand, do we go ahead with this, because it just doesn't And they did go ahead with it. But after that, I started changing things. So now if anybody says, "Would you surprise vow renewal?" I say, "Okay, that's fine. However, here's what I want you to think about. This is lovely that you want to do that, but does she like surprises?" And, you know, lots of women like to have that build up, and they want to choose a beautiful dress, and they don't want to turn up for what they think is going to be.
Their walking boots and a
exactly. Looking round an old building and they walk in and there's Lindy standing there like, surprise. And so please go away and think about that. But the other thing I do is before it, I have to speak to her on her own.
Yeah.
I have to say to her, how do you feel about this?
And even though it's not a legal contract.
No, but it's the right thing to do.
What if she went, "No, I can't do this"?
Then I'd have to go and speak to him and say, and he knows that, but he knows beforehand. I have to speak to her. And we're saying him and her, it could be the same sex, it doesn't really matter, but whoever's getting surprised, I have to speak to them and I have to say, how do you feel about this? Do you want to step into this ceremony? Because if not, that's absolutely fine. I've never had anybody say, no, I don't. But I also say, we need to give her some time. You need to have a bag with some makeup in it.
Yeah.
You maybe even need to have some sort of jacket or something that she can go and she could have 5 or 10 minutes to bring herself to what's happening. Rather than all of a sudden she's dropped in, you know, do you still take? So I've completely changed the way that I do surprise vow renewals. And some ceremonials will say, don't do them. Don't do them, and, you know, fair play to them for doing that because they're doing that for the right reasons. It's not that I say absolutely not doing it, but there are conditions around it. But by and large, vow renewals are they're gorgeous ceremonies to be a part of. And I really feel that when couples leave from their vow renewal ceremony, that something is absolutely shifted. And they are able to, and there's beautiful wee rituals that you can bring in. So I call it the salt ritual. It's just a wee ritual that I come up with. It's salt, just Scottish word for salt. And it was a couple who there had been, you know, cheating, and they had worked through it. And now, of course, when you're coming together like that, you're kind of still bringing that stuff with you. And so I come up with this wee ritual where I have this wee pot of salt, and they each take a wee bit and they hold it, and that represents everything that they want to leave behind, everything that they don't want to bring into the next part of their life. And so they're kind of holding that, and we can do that in the ceremony so that we tell their guests that we're doing that, or they know that when I hold out that wee pot of sand, they each take a wee bit and they just think about, this is a new chapter. Everything up to this point is getting left behind, and then they just throw it behind them where it should go. And that's just that wee symbolic, this is a fresh start. This is something anew, and we can step into that. It's absolutely beautiful. And I've done it where I've gone outside and the bride's done it outside so nobody sees it. So maybe they don't want people thinking, what's that about? What are they doing that for? What's going on? Because it's maybe all very private and they don't want people to know what's been happening in their relationship. That's absolutely fine. You don't have to tell me anything. Just, is there stuff that you don't want to be taken in to this part of your life with, you know, with each other? And if so, what can we do to mark that? What wee rituals can we bring in? So, vow renewal ceremonies. What might that look like? Very much like a typical wedding ceremony.
Yeah.
Would look like. So you would have your opening words. You would talk about what we've just talked about, vow renewals, you know, what they're about, what the symbology behind them, the beauty behind them, and there might be poetry and readings, and then we would come to the threshold moment, which would be the reaffirming of their love for each other. And those vows would be created, either they would do it on their own or with help from us to put together vows that are going to be very meaningful and that are unique to them, rather than this just generic to having to hold from this day forward for better, for worse, you know, like marriage vows, vows that are completely unique to them. I like when a ceremony's over and people think that could not have been for anybody else except for them two. And so they would have, if they're having any rituals, they often have hand fasting for the vow renewals
nice for
ceremonies. If they are having their rings blessed, so they maybe take the rings off and we bless the rings for the next chapter.
Or they get new ones.
Or they get new ones, yeah. That's always a nice occasion to get a new ring. And then we have the sort of declaration of their affirming, you're still very much husband and wife, or wife and wife, or whatever it might be, and bringing the ceremony to a close. So that's it in a formal sense. But if you wanted to do that, if you're a couple and you think, we'd really like to renew our vows, we don't want to do a big elaborate ceremony, just go somewhere that you both love.
Yeah.
And set your intention for reaffirming your love for each other. And that might be that you just go for a walk on a beach. Say that's your favourite place, a beach. You go down to the beach and you each go your separate ways for 2 minutes. And you go for a walk and you just think about your relationship, your journey, everything, what you hope for, what's coming. And then at some point you come back together and you say some vows to each other. And it can be off the top of your head, or ideally that you've taken time to write down. You can offer a wee gift to each other. You know, you can do hand fasting actually if it's just the two of you. I've got a video somewhere on YouTube that shows you if you made it during COVID for couples that were having to delay their wedding. And I said you could do a wee hand fasting on the day your wedding was supposed to be, just between you, so you could look that up. But just do something, have some sort of wee ritual to symbolise this, renewing your vows. And that it can be as simple and as beautiful as that. So it doesn't have to be this big elaborate ceremony. I love vow renewals.
I lost her there. You were away in a wee.
I was going to say something else, and it's just completely slipped out of my mind. It'll come back to me about half an hour after the podcast is finished.
That's the same as people who, maybe not vow renewals, but we talk about marriage ceremonies but alongside, people might not like the idea of becoming married, like that sort of legal binding, but we can do the same with wedding blessings, so it's the same kind of structure, but without the sort of legalities there, if that doesn't sit right with you, or if it, so it's the same.
Or a commitment ceremony.
Commitment ceremonies, that kind of, beautiful things that we can do. But yeah, I mean, it's endless, but it's really up to you to create that with us, or just on your own. And don't be afraid of coming up with suggestions, or even with us, we can help you, because normally a lot of the ideas come from you. A lot of the ideas come from our couples. They'll say, "Oh, we liked such and such," or "I remember that time when we met and we," or "Do you remember we threw that coin into that fountain?" It's things like that you can just say to us in story, and we'll pick that up and go, okay, so how can we bring that into ceremony? Yeah. For that moment, for that vow renewal, what can we do? Well, let's have some coins, and let's have, if we're by the sea or by a river, that's a little bit helpful, but we can use our imagination to bring those beautiful moments, together for them.
You don't need to overthink it.
No.
You don't need to overthink it. Ceremony is not complicated. Ritual is not complicated. You just need to come at it with intention.
And to find that stillness, which is
which you should. If you're coming to it with intention, you should find it. Right, so that's vow renewals. Love them. Healing ceremonies. Now, there's something we don't get a lot of. And, you get to a certain age in your life and everybody's sick. Right? Everybody you talk to has got something wrong with them. Oh, my legs, oh, my knees, oh, I'm getting a hip replacement, I've had cancer. And if it's not you that's sick, it's your parents that are sick, your kids are sick, It just seems to get to a certain age. And I remember when my dad, as he was getting older, he just got more and more obsessed with himself. He was a hypochondriac.
Yeah.
Every time you went in, you would go, "How are you?" "I'm all right, but my legs, but my back, but my..." I always had something wrong with him. And I don't mean to make fun of anybody that's no well. Of course I don't, because actually it's a really good opportunity, particularly if you've come through quite a major health crisis. It's a really good opportunity to just stop and to mark that. You know, our society doesn't give us a great deal of places to place our pain. We carry it about with us. We go through these major things, like having cancer, and you come out the other side and somebody goes, oh, ring a bell, and that's you, you're all sorted.
Yeah.
No, you're no.
Because it's not just the physical, it's the mental side.
It's the mental, it's the spiritual, it's the emotional, it's every part of you. But just to stop and recognise that, okay, I've gone through this journey and it was hard and I have suffered pain and distress and stress and all these things. But it's not bypassing anything. It's not dismissing anything. It's the opposite, actually. It's really recognising that this has been a tough time.
And it's not, we're not saying a healing ceremony and like, you know, somebody lays their hands on you and you're healed. You know, that's not how it works. And it's, again, a lot of community coming together. We use our community, Rites and Rituals community, a lot for healing ceremonies. But you don't have to have a big group of people. You can do it for yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of time, I know it's a very kind of Americanism thing when you go, you know, you'll see, prayer circles and let's, you know, round the world, let's have a prayer. And people will go, God, that's a bit weird. But why should that be weird? Why should coming together, even with people you don't know, and just holding a moment that you know that everybody else will be holding at that time, to do something very simple, even just a thought,
to support somebody.
Why is that so weird?
Well, look, I mean, we're dealing with death every day. We're working with families who've lost somebody almost every day. And again, our society, I don't think, offers many places for people to place their grief. They carry it around with them. And you see it on Facebook. You know, people absolutely distraught, broken-hearted a year after their parents' death. They cannot go over it. They're stuck in that moment. They're stuck back in that moment when that person died. What a healing ceremony does is, as Victoria said, it's not a case of you're going to go through a ceremony and everyone's going to be, oh yeah, I feel much better. It's going to give you a place to place that grief and to sit with that grief and to recognise that you have been through, you know, your life's never going to be the same. If you've lost a parent or a child or whatever it might be, your life is never going to be the same again. And it's probably going to hurt every single day for the rest of your life, because that's what grief does. But it's also an opportunity to say, the only reason that grief is there is because I love this person so much. And that can take you down another road, a road of gratitude and thankfulness and mindfulness and memory of who that person was and what they brought to your life and hopefully what you gave to their life. And, you know, we started this up talking about new life ceremony and a baby coming in and taking that first breath, and that's them, about how their life mattered. And how the world has been changed by that life in it. So all of a sudden, instead of you just feeling absolutely hopeless and helpless and full of pain, you've got somewhere to put that pain. Now, it might be that you have to pick it back up again. As you leave that healing ceremony, you're not just going to put it down there once and it's going to be gone. But if you keep finding opportunities where you can go and you can sit in prayer circle and you can be seen and you can be heard and you can be held, then maybe each time that burden becomes a wee bit lighter as you leave. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And I think that it is about not being stuck. And I know that a lot of times holding funeral ceremonies especially, there are words that we tend to say, you know, they lost that person, but they knew they had to keep moving forward. One of the poems that is used quite a lot, and I've used a lot, I've stopped it now because it feels a bit stuck, is the grief is love, is just love with no place to go.
Yeah.
But as you say, love has got a place to go. We can carry it forward, and grief is not going to, it will cripple you, but it's not going to, if you're having some sort of healing or working with people or even just with yourself, it has places to go. We can carry it with us. We don't want to not feel that, but it's having the support to carry it.
And having these opportunities. Again, in our society, it's no normalised to go and sit in a prayer circle. You're absolutely right. Or to join a grief circle, or am I going to have to say something? Am I going to have to, I don't want to sit and cry in front of other people. I totally get that. And it's really, really, that can be really daunting for people. And so then it becomes finding something that does work for you. And that might not be a formal ceremony where you're held. Now, healing ceremonies are often just one-to-one. So if somebody came to me for a healing ceremony, depending on what it was, I'd be comfortable bringing in another rites and ritual ceremonialist if that was right for that person and that person thought it was right for them, where we could sit in circle and they'd be in the middle of that circle. And we would be holding that space for them and whatever they need. And we would find rituals for them to let go of what has been. And to what can we do. I remember doing one with a lady, and she had come through cancer and out the other side and gone into remission and wanted to do something that marked it. So we did it in our garden and created a kind of path across the grass. So from where she was moving across this threshold, and there were things that she wanted to leave behind her associated with cancer. So she brought along things that when you've cancer, when you've breast cancer, you get, certainly here in where I live, you get this wee cushion that's been made by just ordinary people. They hand these wee cushions in and they're like kind of shaped like wee love hearts, and they go under here to kind of protect you if you've had surgery under here. Oh, it's here where my surgery was. And so she brought along that. And she brought along just things that represented her cancer journey, and she left them behind her. She was in her bare feet, and then she walked forward, and there were things that friends had sat. So there was friends there. They had sat at the side of her path that she might want to pick up.
Lovely.
Things that represented hope, things that represented her work, things that represented family, things that represented adventure. And it was up to her if she chose to put them onto her path. And she walked in across that threshold, and it was really lovely. So I've done ones like that, and I've done ones where it's just me and one other person who just finding a place to put that pain that they're suffering, and then finding ritual. And it can be just lighting a candle, as you said earlier, something unique to them. So that's where you...
Do you remember the one we did up at the Loch? That healing ceremony at the retreat for that wee girl?
Oh, yes.
That was beautiful.
That wee girl that had cancer, and her gran had, said, could you, and we had a wee picture and we put it in the middle and we said blessings and prayers, and that was really, really lovely, and we got some really good news about that wee girl like a couple of weeks afterwards. Healing ceremonies can be so powerful.
But again, it's about the stillness. It's about just finding that moment to, as you say, it can be as simple as lighting a candle, and just for a couple of minutes, whether it's for yourself or for somebody else, is just to hold that positive energy and send it out. I sign off a lot with love and light, and some people probably think that's a really wanky thing to say. Kind of is, but to me it feels right, because I feel like when I'm sitting sending stuff out there, it is love, and it is the light that I'm blessed with to, it's about those visual. I'm a visual person, so those visual things, sending it out into wherever or whoever. We've had lovely things, and you don't have to. I know a lot of it is one-to-one, and it is much obviously more powerful if you can be with that person. But, if you can't be with that person, it's just about, you can do sort of virtual healing ceremonies.
Sit and write in your journal.
Sit and write in your
Sit
journal.
Write in your journal and then take it and burn it.
It's what I do a lot of that for my mum at the minute. It's a lot of burning
A lot of burning stuff.
But yeah, so it's these simple things that we can do. And for ourselves, it feels like we can't give somebody prescribed drugs. We're not doctors. We're not this. We're not that. But what we can do is we can send out love.
Yeah.
And support.
Yeah. And the ringing of the bell is a ritual. But that's it over. I can now go and start my healing. And for, that can be really helpful for people. But there's also, other things that you can do. You can stand outside your front door and say, right, when I walk through this door, that's it. I leave everything that's been behind me and I step into something new. You can clean all your house if you feel like it. That's a great way of getting rid of all the old energy. Windows open.
Burning sage.
A wee bit of salt, a burning sage, a wee bit of salt in each windowsill, just to absorb all that, energy. That's what I did because I was getting chemo every 3 weeks and then every week. So you're bringing that in, you're breathing it. You're breathing it in. It's everywhere. You get a sense that horrible stuff, that poison is everywhere. You want to find a way of getting rid of that. So salt in all the windowsills, leaving your doors and your windows open, letting that all be absorbed, and then saging the fuck out the place to get rid of it.
So you can be as woo-woo as you want, or you can be as simple as you want.
Yeah, be woo-woo. Be woo-woo, that's the way to be. So that's healing ceremonies. Just wanted to talk about that because I do think there are a lot of people out there going through a lot of shit. We know where to kind of turn other than to talk about it, but you don't just have to talk about it. There's things you could be doing just to find a place to, well, I'm saying park it might not be park it, but lay it for a wee while. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was croning ceremonies, something very close to my heart.
Somebody I know is having a croning ceremony.
I am having a croning ceremony. So what's a croning ceremony? It's a ceremony where you are choosing to step into your elderhood, to step into the wisdom that comes with being older. At one point, being a crone in your community would have been such...
revered.
It would have been revered. It would have been such
wise
an important...
woman.
The wise woman, the
Healer.
sage, the healer, the
Bringer of life
potion
and
mixer.
sending life off. Yeah.
Yep. For some reason, it's been completely turned, and now it's seen as this wicked old witch, the old crow, and that's got
it sort of happened, didn't it, when the sort of witching, the witches were, well, that's a whole different podcast, obviously, when women were, the patriarchy was afraid of women, so what's the best thing to do is to suppress them and burn them.
Yep. Tell everybody that they're witches and they're going to cast spells on them. But... it's such an important ceremony because I don't think we're that good at respecting older people.
We're cast aside. That's
completely.
it.
You become invisible. Yeah. I mean, there's a certain benefit in that becoming invisible as a certain age, particularly for a woman. And a lot of women really struggle with it. They go through life and they're seen and people see them and your outfit and you're lovely, and then all of a sudden it's almost as if you're not even there. People don't see you. It's a strange thing if you've not experienced it, but once you've experienced it, you go, oh my God, I'm invisible. I have to say I quite like it a lot of the time, but I think it's really important for us to step in to that wisdom of age. And some women choose to do it like when they hit the menopause. They go, right, this is a good time to step in to my crone years.
I do feel women are beginning to step into that power
think so.
again.
Yeah.
We are beginning to grab on the thing. Actually, we're not on the shelf yet.
No, codger.
Exactly. In fact,
I'm
we're more
still
powerful. We're more outspoken in a way,
and more spiritual.
And more spiritual. And I think that's that kind of full circle, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's a great time to mark that and to step into ceremony. And I am so looking forward. So what
Pressure's on.
what I've done, because we started off talking about people running 1,000,000 miles an hour through life and through their ceremony. Mm-hmm. And actually what I've done is say to my group of fellow ceremonialists, I would like a croning ceremony. And then I've taken my hands off. So what they will do is they'll talk to me and they'll say, okay, why? Why are you having a croning ceremony? What does it mean to you? You know, what are you hoping to get from it? What kind of things are you drawn to? And then they will go and they will create it and design it, and I will just turn up. But that means I don't have to get caught up in the noise of venues and food and who's saying what and who's doing and making all the decisions. I can just spend, and I'm already doing that, spend the time thinking, oh my God, I'm 60 next month. Hey, how the heck did that happen? Mm-hmm. But I'm 60 next month. And the opportunities that can come from being 60 and what do I want for this next part of my life? What do I want to leave behind? And what do I want for this next part of my life? And I want it to be woo-woo shit.
Yeah, no, it will be woo-woo shit.
I want it to be totally woo-woo shit. If it's not, I would be totally disappointed, I have to say. I am so looking forward to it.
We are as well, and as the group of ceremonialists for Rites and Rituals are going to be holding Lindy through her croning ceremony. And, you know, going back to that thing you said earlier, there's part of you that wants to go, well, you don't need to know anything, we'll just do it all. But ceremony, you need to be involved, you need to have your input, you know, so we will have that conversation with you, but there will be a lot of woo-woo shit, and we will share it with you. A lot of it, and it's so beautiful to celebrate such a powerful, strong woman anyway, you know.
Anybody that's listening, I'm pointing at myself with my thumbs.
But, you know, and also it's a good dress rehearsal for when I have mine, which will be even more fabulous.
Exactly, totally.
No, it's going to be really exciting, and you know, you've been through so much over the last few years. Well, throughout your life, you've been through so much. And the ceremony, I know in my head, is already taking shape. But what I will say is that it will mark, after we have our conversations, we will mark different points of your life. You know, it's almost like going to be a transition through each part of life to reach where you are.
It's going to be so emotional. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it.
I've got all goosebumply. Oh, and I've got the best song. I know, but can I share it with you?
I don't share it with me. No spoilers. No spoilers.
Don't worry, it's not me singing. But so music and everything's going to be involved.
Cloaks.
There's going to be just hold your wrist.
Sorry.
Hold your wrist.
Oh, can I wear my cloak? Right? No. But
yeah,
I'm so looking forward to it. But
it's going to be beautiful and fun, but fun as well. Yeah. You know, there will be tears. I know there'll be tears. There'll be laughter. There'll be joy. There'll be wine. And there will be a feast to celebrate, as, you know, all good celebrations should have. But yeah, it's going to be something. It's going to be something quite epic that there's going to be, 6 of us all together who'll be creating that together.
And it's so wonderful that I don't know a lot about it. No. That I just get
even though you're control freak side.
Yes, I am a control freak. I just get to turn up and experience what you have taken from me, and you know, and just experience it.
And we are going to be in our most powerful place as a group of ceremonialists, where we all sort of grew together up on overlooking Loch. Where are we?
Loch Tay.
Where am I?
She doesn't even know where we're going. What chance have I got?
So yeah, it's going to have lots of depth and meaning in the last couple of years, but really celebrating your entire journey to that moment.
Oh my goodness, we have talked about new life ceremonies. We've talked about vow renewal ceremonies. We've talked about healing ceremonies. And we've talked about croning ceremonies.
But that's the tip of the iceberg with ceremonies.
Tip of the iceberg. But each one has the same thing at its core, marking a moment. Witnessing a moment for somebody. And being seen by your community and by the sacred. And how often do we stop to do that? And I just think, in terms of my croning ceremony, not only can I not wait for the ceremony itself, but for stepping into that part that comes after. I think it's going to be a wonderful setting up of that stepping into that next part. So if you're of a certain age, and there's no right or wrong age to do that, it's if you feel that you want to step into your wisdom years, then again, you can either get in touch with us and we will put together a beautiful ceremony for you, or you can just
Simply with family, friends, yourself.
A friend, go for a walk.
Say with you in the sacred,
Yeah.
you know.
And just think about your years gone by and this stepping into this kind of twilight years and what you hope for that. Because usually it's about slowing down. It's about slowing down.
No chance of that for you.
Well, I'm going to try. It's about slowing down. It's about recognising your wisdom. Now, I don't mean by that you're all of a sudden a complete sage. I just mean, if you get to 60 or 70, you have gone through a lot of shit and you have gathered loads of information. I've kind of forgotten most of it, but there is a wisdom there that's going to kind of get lost.
And it's almost a moment where you finally accept who you are, because you don't feel like, I mean, everybody wants a piece of you at times, but that I think our society forces us to behave or be this person or be this, do a million things. And it's about finally coming back to rediscovering who you are.
Yeah. And facing your own mortality.
Well, I'm not planning your funeral. I've got your croning ceremony to do.
No. Okay, right.
Well, we blabbered on quite a wee bit today, so
we have.
But thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening.
And if you are listening to this and you think, oh gosh, ceremony, what about I could do. Give us suggestions for ceremonies, what you could hold a ceremony for, even new houses or anything, graduations, all sorts of things that we haven't thought of, because we can create ceremony and ritual over anything.
Yeah, and we will talk about others in other podcasts. We just want to, we know how much we can blather, so we wanted to keep it just to the fore. Right, once again, thank you for listening. Have a great couple of weeks and we'll be back with our next podcast. But as always,
Gaun Yersoul.
Gaun Yersoul.